Marketing is probably one of the few professions that everyone has an opinion on.
Marketing's where people will go to try and get a quick, big win.
When we got to the 6-month review, one of the things that came out was like, oh, well, actually, you haven't been doing the job that I've hired you on paper to do.
It's really cool for a business to own one and to go after one, but I can't make other people value that.
Somehow, the digital advertising budget had no net gain for the footfall traffic. That specialist just said, well, it sounds like I'm not a fit for your project.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the thing that holds the project up. Wishing you all the best.
Well, there's a few things he said over time that kind of like, oh, God.
The project's not going to start till like January by the time we scope, agreements, back and forth, etc. discovery. Does a call need to happen now? Yeah, it needs to happen, absolutely, yeah. I will never forget this. It was like a WhatsApp group with like images of like the ads that would to be uploaded. They're in South America. We're in Australia. Completely different time zones. They're on holiday. And you just want a 15-minute vibe check?
Ben, how are you
Jack.
doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for joining me on this episode.
Likewise.
It's a pleasure to be speaking to you. We're going to talk about
Expectations.
something and changing minds, I think, which is I'm certainly guilty of having to do or trying to do over my time.
In the context of marketing.
In the context of marketing, yes. It
Either
is a marketing
clients,
podcast,
employees, or... Yes.
So, yes. I think I'm not sure if you've done this much, but I certainly have throughout my career is tried to change minds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we now have an expertise. We know that a lot of people who aren't marketers think they know a lot about our expertise. And I have spent an ungodly amount of time trying to change their minds or make them see the light. And yeah, go on.
I was going to say on that point, it's like marketing's probably one of the, and you said this, and it always stuck out to me. It's like marketing's probably one of the few professions that people think everyone has an opinion on because they've seen advertising before. I didn't go to a doctor and when I get the diagnosis, well, maybe with ChatGPT now, maybe I do. But the marketing is one of those things where it's like someone knows someone's, young daughter who can do social media marketing or can do or has an opinion on something, right? And it's like changing minds is a big thing, and how as a marketers, we manage those expectations with either clients or our internal teams or stakeholders.
Yeah, and I mean, like if we on the doctor analogy though, like we've seen people who have got the flu as well. Like we've been seeing people sick. We don't tend to go, hey, we know more about this than the doctors, but that is the reality of our profession, I think. And I'm not sure why that is the case, but it is. And
why is that? It's pretty systemic. It's not, and it's not. I don't think it's like a unique case to me.
I think there is. One of my theories is around the evidence-based side of it. Is we aren't really probably an evidence-based profession as much as perhaps like if you are going to compare it to a doctor. And there is a lot of marketers who don't really know much beyond using the tools. They don't which I don't really. That's using a tool to help with, communications or advertising or something. I don't consider that marketing. It might be a small part of it, but it's not.
All of it.
Not. Yeah.
On managing expectations, do you want to kick off with one of your stories?
Well, I want to say another point though there because I just thought of something. I think there's probably an ego element of it that it is perceived to be you run this campaign or you do this thing and it makes this disproportionate improvement, and the operations manager gives the idea and they see that as the highest leverage thing to do in the business, which I think is perception. I don't think it's real, but I don't think that's how you actually get a big spike. But I think there probably is a perception that just marketing's where people will go to try and get a quick big win, and if the marketers would just listen to me, we just do this and we get a massive win, a disproportionate win to the effort.
I worked with a client that was adamant that, they asked me that question. And the question was, have you ever seen one big idea just take off? And I'm actually like, not just one big idea. It was over maybe a 12-month mark of always on advertising. We'd made these incremental changes that we could go, okay, based on the evidence, our testing process, we actually know that this is what drives the biggest result based off all these little tests that we ran. And he was like, well, I've actually done it before, just one big idea. And I was like, oh, really? What was it? And it was just okay, well, you had a product that serviced a COVID environment and you pivoted to digital. Of course that's going to make sense because everyone was locked in their home, they had money to spend, they had nowhere to spend it and then I'm going to buy the thing online to go, I'm locked in my house, how can I make myself happier here?
But the external environment radically changed.
But you know what, that was my point.
Yeah.
With this client was, for context, they ran retail stores all around Australia. This environment was about 2 years ago, so let's say it's right now it's 2025, so 2023, 24. This client we were running paid media, so Google, Meta, and we're running digital advertising. The big thing about their customer base is, it was a health company, and it sold like supplements. People in that space, or their main consumers, like bodybuilders or athletes or whatever, they know what they want for most part, and they buy it when it's the cheapest price. The stuff barely ever goes off. So obviously there's a big sale, so end of financial year or peak sales, discount time. Black Friday, they're waiting for that, and they'll just stock up for a year, right?
Yeah.
And you maybe want to go in store, unless you needed it more urgently. The owner was like, this is the sales. We're looking at the graphs and we're going, look, we're getting these sales online. Oh yeah, but we're spending the most we ever have in online, and our proportional online sales aren't increasing. And I'm like, what about your footfall on like your retail sales? Oh, well that's increasing too. It's like, oh yeah, but we're not measuring that. Like the digital advertising, like it was like the digital advertising budget had no net gain for the footfall traffic, and only wanted the online to contribute to online sales. And it was comparing the trajectory from just post-COVID environment, and it was just around that, like having to manage those expectations around, okay, well, we're looking at a bigger macro environment, like a radically different macro environment where the world was turned upside down. And two, it's like you can't separate online and retail. Like it's all.
I hope you wrote in the ads. I was thinking that do not buy anything in store. If you see this ad on these are digital ads. Do not buy anything in store. Only buy online so we can track.
Should have, but it's funny you say that. Like one of the things that I did suggest in this case was having online, like claimable online in-person offers. The fundamental book that started me in advertising and marketing was a guy by the name of Bradley Sugars, and that the example was a bakery was doing advertising in a paper, and they wanted to know what is the result of how do we increase our loaves of bread that we sell in. From that. And so what they did was they advertised, get a free Claire when you mention this ad, or a free thing. And so when people came in, they saw the print ad, back when people bought newspapers, or those who cared about newspapers, they'd unfold it and they go, free eclair, I'm at Bob's Bakery, and I'm going to go and claim and that was how they tracked the, people's, and they would just tally it up. Where I'm going with that is like, that's what I suggested to this client in some effect was, why don't we run a campaign where we can actually just go, hey, we're just going to run this promotion, and you have to claim in store.
Right. The thing is with that stuff is like, you're doing something just so you can track it easier.
Yes.
It's not necessarily like something that's better for the brand.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So, go on.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But you're playing into you're playing into what the client wanted there.
Well, so, two things. I was like, hey, we claim the coupon online, so we can track the online transaction, and then okay, well, you can actually also claim it in store.
Yeah, okay.
But the thing that they weren't set up for is having the discount. Like, then you'd have every 30 of those like locations and having to report on what coupons were claimed, and that would ladder up, and wasn't really set up for that. What ended up happening, on that is they'd been with the company that I was who I was working for quite some time, and this was kind of like the final. They didn't see the same growth that they had during COVID, so they didn't want to, and they're bringing a lot of things in house, so that kind of wrapped up that conversation. But
so it could have been an excuse, do you think? Or
I think it was twofold. It was I think it was I don't know if it was an excuse. Like every business owner has a right to exit a marketing contract, but it was one of the things that they utilized for that. And there was, despite doing digital like forecasting and explaining that, it wasn't the point. It was just like, hey, what we're spending now is more than that. And you know what happens over time? Ad placements get more expensive.
Yeah.
The more people use them.
No.
I also remember like 16-cent clicks on Instagram ads when they first launched. But it's not like that now.
Yeah.
It's like if more people use the platform and media, then it becomes more expensive.
Funny that.
Yep.
I guess it's an example of where you didn't change your mind.
Didn't change your mind, and was despite my best efforts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've put a lot of effort into doing the same thing. I remember one of my clients, I'd worked with him on and off for a while. I used to do project type work for him, but he'd just go, "Oh, can you do this?" And I'd do it.
What do you mean? Like, so you do project-based work, and then he
Yeah.
would just have these random ad hoc requests.
Yeah.
Was it part of the project, or?
No, it was always a different project. So I just had an open-ended, basically, contract with him that he
Right.
could just buy hours off me. Well, there's a few things he said over time that kind of like, oh, God. One being that, and this guy's about late 40s, everyone's told me throughout my career that marketing takes time, but I just want it to work quickly. And this is he was selling multi-$100,000, like $500,000 projects and this type of thing. So this is
things that
impulse.
are short-term impulse buy.
Yeah.
I buy that
exactly,
stuff all the time.
Exactly, yeah. So
Maybe if you're a billionaire or so, but so a considered purchase.
very
and
considered purchase.
a vetted purchase, sort of like a go to tender almost.
Exactly.
Or, yep.
Yeah, it could be. But he, so that was a bit like, oh gosh. And something else I know with him is using the language of, or does Facebook work, or does LinkedIn work, and
Tactics.
this platform work as this general, question. It's like saying, does the carpenter, does a hammer work? Well, what are you using it for? And like, what do you.
That's a great point, because like
what do you want to get out of it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
want to?
I want you to get the screw into this. Oh,
yeah. Or did I wanted to, I don't know, cook a pasta. It's like probably doesn't work then. There's
no.
Will you hammer your pasta? Do you? All right.
No.
So that's things that I, my values and in my view of almost reality and his don't really line up.
Do you think it was because he didn't know what marketing was? Like, what?
But
Like,
I think
was he getting caught? He was getting caught up in like the channel or platform over like the outcome, or
Because he wanted to believe it was something it's not.
In what way?
Well, that's convenient for a channel just to work. That's ideal, right? Like if we had an ideal world, you just have, just do Facebook and that works.
Or just do, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of those LinkedIn clickbait posts that are like, cold calling's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Or email marketing's dead. Or Facebook's dead. Like, and it's like a dying industry. It's like, I can guarantee you now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like in any industry, you got to zig and zag when everyone's zigging. Why was he in a hurry to sell? Was he in dire straits?
No, he wasn't in dire straits. It just, he wanted to understand the money he put into marketing. He wanted to know every dollar, basically, exactly what it did, as far as how it contributed to a sale.
Wanted his little soldiers to go out and get more little soldiers and captive and bring back those little money.
Effectively, yeah. So it got weird towards the end with me and him. I mean, he asked me to hire a PPC freelancer for him, which I did.
Pay-per-click.
Yep. Which is fine if that's what he needed. I'm not one of those. So I got that person, and then I think a few weeks later I got this. Oh, how's the campaign going? I'm like, I got no idea. Like I just hired
you
the
didn't
person.
brief the campaign in?
No, I briefed the freelancer and then passed him off.
Oh, it was his responsibility.
I wasn't maintaining it. Well, I had no arrangement to maintain it.
Right.
That wasn't doing any work. Like it was nothing. Like,
was the freelancer actually doing work though? Like he set some fundamentals up, obviously.
Yeah, he'd done some stuff. Yeah, but
he was asking you how the reporting was.
Yeah, and I think it was like he wanted me to have some accountability for it or something. I guess.
Yeah, right.
But again, like even if you hire someone, you do your best, right? And this person was fine, I think, but you do your best, and that's only one part of the process. So I didn't get sales. I did one part of the whole, thing, the whole situation, which was hire someone. And I was out of it for 4 weeks. I didn't know. I don't know what's going on.
It wasn't
with
your
the campaign,
responsibility.
and I don't know what the objective of the campaign is.
And there's multiple objectives you can have on a pay-per-click campaign.
I wasn't across the whole buying.
He just recruited you. So he had hired you because you'd been working on marketing projects.
Yeah.
He grouped all the marketing together and goes, well, at least hire me someone. So you hired that person. Great. Now it was off to him to run that.
Yeah.
How did you manage his expectations or scope on that one?
Well, at that stage, I had to kind of go, well, I went back and I suggested, if you want me to manage it, that's fine. But I need to actually manage it. Yeah, and I need to get paid. Yeah. And we need like an ongoing, if it's a management thing, I need to manage it ongoing.
Yes.
Not
just an hour ad hoc here and there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I'm happy to do, but that's project based. I do it, I give it back. That's fine. And what was really interesting there, and I actually wrote back quite detailed, like here's how it could work. And he come back and he sort of said, oh, thanks for that, but I just wanted to know how the ads were going. I'm like, like how long's a piece of string? I can look at the metrics. We don't have any targets. Like hired someone who could run ads. I don't know, the overall play here or the strategy.
Marketing is so nuanced, but it gets broken. Like it can be broken down into so many different ways, and I think that's one of the case of like, I've worked in agencies for maybe like probably 5 or 6 years. Clients will come in with an expectation of what marketing is, and
Yes.
and it's so multifaceted.
Yeah.
There's so many specialist roles now, and depending on what type of marketer you are, whether you're a specialist or generalist, whether you're technical, whether you're offline or you're I say classically trained, as in like I say classically trained with is like you're more creative than you are data driven, and it's like how do you it kind of gets all grouped together. It's like the general practitioner also knows how to do like surgery on this particular part of the foot bone, and you look at any other industry, we'll go back to the doctor or the healthcare analogy, is like there's a reason why there's a veterinarian. They look after animal care, and they may specialize in zoology, different parts of the human body, or vets and stuff like that. Similar with marketing, there's different parts, and I think maybe that's an education piece in the marketing industry, and also like our role as consultants or marketers is understanding. One of the things that I have managing expectations and from a client is just getting really clear on what the outcome is, because sometimes clients come with like, hey, I need SEO, or I need to have a podcast too, and it's like maybe that, like, okay, well, what is the outcome of that you want?
Well, the outcome is going to be sales though, and a lot of the time, and you can't be held responsible fully for that.
Why not?
For sales, a marketer,
yeah, absolutely,
being held fully responsible for
100%.
sales.
No.
Oh, you're trolling me, mate.
No, absolutely not. I definitely think like obviously the outcome is sales, and then so I think it's when you're like some marketers are, I was speaking to a friend the other day, and they were talking about, okay, this is the only way, the vehicle in which you have to acquire leads is you have to run in-person events, and that's how we're going to build the thing. It's like, you're not doing SEO, you're not doing referrals, you're not providing your pricing on your website so people can opt in. Like, you're not making it easy for people to find you, And then their target market was like busy professionals. Like, how are you going to get them to an offline event to like build a community when they're paying you for services to manage so they can do other things operationally in their business? They don't have time to go to your in-person event. But that was the remit. So there's a big, we had that conversation, and it was like, there's a big conversation there about how do you manage that as well.
Yeah, but people can be very attached to their idea in situations like that.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm at the stage now where I don't think you're going to change minds, and don't try and, I don't try and change it from 20% to 90%.
Because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
But you might be able to get from 80 to sort of 95.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If someone's a long way there, I think, okay, that we have enough like-mindedness that we're working from a similar platform that at least we can probably meet in a compromise that's acceptable for both parties.
Yeah.
But if, we're miles apart, I just think that doesn't really work. I know you've had a job where you talk someone into giving you a job.
Yeah.
It was different to the job advertised.
Yeah, absolutely. So a role got shared with me, and I saw the role, and it was like looking after like a pay-per-click specialist, and I was like, great, I can, digital marketing, I can go into that. I looked at what the business offered, and I'm like, wow, works in my vertical. I've worked on these accounts before. I'd worked agencies managing many of these types of accounts with specialists who were doing the work, and I'd be the account manager and work on the strategy piece and closely with these professionals. I'd also work in the platforms that they were using as well, like 2 of the platforms that they were using a part of their tech stack. And I was like, I can definitely do this. And so I went into the interview, and the first interview, and this is through a recruiter as well. So recruiter typically have a very clear outcome and of the one, what the client wants, and what the customer or talent wants, what I want. Me and the recruiter both aligned is like what the client is actually asking for in this brief is they actually need someone to be more senior. They don't need someone just to do the ads. They also need someone who can do platform integrations, run digital projects, be operational, and just kind of be the digital everything, right? So that was after 2 meetings, that was my scope, and I did put that forward. It's like, it sounds like if you just had someone doing the paid performance media, there's still email, there's still website, there's still, projects, and they wanted to roll out like subscriptions, and they wanted to do a whole bunch of like integrated their logistics and all that stuff. They still need someone to do that. And I was like, I'm that person, right? And I think, this is the pay band that, so I ended up, so I ended up getting that job, and what was great about it was that I got to carve kind of like that position out for myself, but convinced, that expectations around, hey, this is what I will be able to deliver on. While I may not be doing the pay-per-click, I can definitely oversee and help with the tracking and give guidance, but I won't be in it every day. I was there for just under a year, and it just didn't work. Like it was, I did digital projects and amongst other things, but what was happening was that the expectation was anything that needs to get done, you do, on digitally, like that's your part. For context, it was a full digital business, so there was no parts that like did not touch digital. and we're talking about like from an operational perspective, and you're a larger organization, you've got Microsoft Teams, you've got Slack or you've got Google Drive. I'm saying like I came into the business with an Android phone, and everyone's using iMessage to communicate internally. And like not even email, just like iMessage chat. And I was like, I had to log into like my Mac to get on the iMessage, and then to work with some vendors, they had like, I will never forget this. It was like a WhatsApp group with like just images of like the ads that would to be uploaded. And it was like, here's some content someone shared with us, spin it up in an ad, and it would just be shared like in like
WhatsApp.
in a WhatsApp group,
right.
and then be somehow uploaded somewhere. And so one of my first things I did was implement Slack and a project management system and a bit of like digital operations behind that. That was like one of the cases of client not having an idea of what they want, like, hey, I just want someone to do performance media, but actually really needing to do a whole bunch of other like operational digital stuff. And and that was one of those things like managing expectations around, okay, this is what we're actually going to be working on because this is what we need.
Yeah.
We need to do this in this order.
Yeah, but ultimately it didn't work out.
Ultimately it didn't work out.
So talk to like the part about how like the idea of changing that mind.
Yeah, I think up front it worked really well.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say it worked really well is like when you're coming to a project or you're in that conversation, I came in with authority and expertise, which I do have, right? So it was like, hey, what's kicked off that project was I scoped out a little bit of work to do on their email, and I scoped that up initially, right? So I was like, I'm not into doing free discoveries or whatnot. So I was like, hey, I can do a paid project. This is what I would tackle. Let's have a look at your email, and I'll have a look at what's been sent, segmentation, and we can do some stuff there. And so I was like, hey, this is what I'd charge to do this project. Did that, delivered it, and it was like, great. Now I think we have a good working relationship. And like you were saying, I think it works on two levels. The two things that I would be mindful of is like, one, there's a values alignment. You're aligned on how you think about the world in some ways, right? Like, hey, fundamentally we think that, we're aligned on like we can work together, and that's what this project did. Number two, there's the outcome alignment. So what is our North Star and how do we measure success? So what ended up happening was at the start, there was very clear like North Stars of each project or what was going to be done. And what happened over time was there was too much changing there was too many North Stars. The North Star's North Star for a reason. It's the place to go, the one destination, the outcome, the finish line, the where we're going to arrive at the end of this project or the end of this year or the end of this quarter, right? What was happening was there's too much interference, that there was too many expectations, too many changes to what was happening. I'm talking from a daily perspective and a weekly. Like I do the quarterly plan, this is what we're working on, and then it takes a few weeks to gather those requirements and what needs to be done, scope it out, and then the following week it would be like, oh no, we need to do this because this is a more urgent priority. Even though it wasn't necessarily revenue generating, it was like, oh no, we need this. Oh, we've got a new starter. We need to, being a smaller organization, you need to give them all the access and onboard them with this and set up this. It's like there's a lot of, in most businesses, a lot of operational fatigue that goes on that I think, that expectation of, just spin it up. But it's like, no, it's not just spin it up. It's creating a new account. In order to create a new account, you need their email, their name, maybe their phone number, set up passwords. Like there's so much that goes into like identity. And now I'm working in a larger organization now, and there's one person that manages, like literally their job is to like manage permissions. Yeah. And I remember that being a project at like this former company of like setting up password management. Like we've got all these platforms, and it was a case of like, who has access to the Adobe? Who has, what's the login for that? And can you imagine how many like time is wasted of like who has access to Canva or who has the keys to the Instagram? Like when you're trying to share that stuff. And like one of the first things I did, not the best cybersecurity stuff, is like a spreadsheet of like shared access or who has it, and then to migrate that over to a password manager. But the password manager was too much of a leap. And that's kind of like where it kind of started, the wagon wheel started falling off, is I saw fundamental flaws with their business where I'm looking at like someone could take that data and just run away with, and shut down your Instagram account. And that's how you're running your, you know, your marketing. So
I hear that though, and I go, but that's why someone like that wanted a pay-per-click person.
And
you come in and you're selling what was needed, but then you're pointing that out, and it's not what's valued. Like that's not what's. Oh, but I don't care about that. Just run some ads, you know. So that piece on changing the mind, I still come back to in your situation there that it was probably too much of a leap in the end for someone.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was too much of a like a technological like leap as well, especially if you're, you know, this business had evolved from an offline business and fundamentally weren't like digital native in a digital native and tech environment.
Yeah.
I guess that's the other thing is like being mindful, you know, any marketer out there, and, you know, is being mindful of, you know what you know, but they don't know what you know.
Yeah.
And the analogy I have for that is, if you ever climbed a mountain, or like hiked a mountain, not necessarily like, you know, Everest, but like
I've done Kosciuszko.
Oh wow.
And I've done Cradle Mountain.
Yeah. Tasmania and then New South Wales, right?
Yeah.
I've done like, you know, the Glasshouse Mountains, like Gundagon. That's for context, those who are not living in Queensland. That is the smallest. It's like a little hill.
You don't know. My mountains are bigger.
Yeah, he's been to the bigger mountains. I'm talking about like one. It's a 40-minute like walk on like, you know.
Kind of embarrassing even to bring it up, really, isn't it?
But the point is, I'll go to your analogy of Kosciuszko or Mount Everest, right? You start at the base, right? So you climbed and you go. When you're at the bottom of the mountain, you look up and you go, wow, I want to be on top of that one there. And I can't wait for the view, right? And what happens is, you know, you go through your little tour, you go do, maybe you break. You don't have to break on the ones I go on. You know, maybe yours like how long's Kosciuszko? Like, is it
I think
one
it's
day?
like 6 hours or something. That's a fair
Is that all?
One way, I think.
So that's quite a hike.
Don't quote me because I don't remember. But yeah,
but you get to the top, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, and
very much so.
Maybe not at Kosciuszko because it's the highest mountain.
I climbed it.
No. But when you get there, you look out and you see things that you've never seen before from that height, right? Mm-hmm. And you may, let's just say there's other mountains that are higher than that. You may see mountains that you didn't see from the base, right? So you go, I want to go see that thing. What this mountain is an analogy for is the information or the stuff you learn along the way to where you are right now, right? Like in your history, in your professional career or history, you've got to a certain level of being tenured in what you're doing. And that is you're now at this peak in your career, right? You know the most you know right now. But there's still people who are just like starting at base camp, still on your journey. You know, part of this, you know, this podcast and me want to be on this podcast is helping other marketers out or people who are starting their journey or in different tiers in their journey and being able to share that knowledge. Most people forget the mountain that they've climbed to get the experience they have. And that was something that I learned in that role was I'd worked for one of the largest tech organizations, you know, e-commerce at Shopify, and was looking at that going, how are these people not using AI in everything we're doing? You've got to remember, you don't become a big company. And that was what my vision was, because that's what I bought into. I was buying the vision that I'd originally chatted with that founder was, you want to make this the biggest platform in this industry. I'm going to do it, and this is how. That's what, because I was looking long term and looking for the mountain. He was going, I'm just starting at base camp, you know, like, and that getting from there to there was a gap. Maybe I got him like halfway up the mountain, you know, just by introducing Slack, you know, and a few other things. But that was one of the things where it was just not the gap was too. We were on different mountains. You know, sometimes you got to, and that's, you know, take care of. You know, not saying the fundamentals weren't taken care of, but it was like, how do we get more of that? Yeah, you need doers and you need balance of both, and you need to be able to, you know, sometimes I think marketing and digital particularly gets like all grouped together, and it's kind of becomes a bit ominous around what needs to be done. But
yeah, I mean, some of the work can be quite invisible. Like the important work is sometimes very, very invisible.
Totally. Like, so, fundamental work, who are we customers?
Yeah. I mean, just like plugging holes and, you know, doing that type of thing, just fixing fundamentals but then fixing it, spending 4 hours to fix it, and it will be good for 2 years.
And it's half a day, right? Yeah. But it's like, oh, that email didn't go. It's like, okay, well, this other stuff got briefed in. And what was interesting about that is like getting to like performance review time, and we're talking about like, you know, scope, you know, the roles and responsibilities of what was in, not the role that I agreed on. And we got to like, a 6-month review point and was looking back and going, on paper, what happened is the business was going through a bit of a transition, like from ownership, like it was 2 founders going to 1, etc. So what happened, there was a bit of like, for those who've played sport, or if my analogy at the time was like play soccer and you're a man down on the pitch, or person down on the pitch.
Someone got red carded.
Yeah, someone got red carded. Well, yeah, got red carded, brought out of the business and was no longer pulling their weight, right? So that means there's a position open that needs to be filled, right? And maybe, Jack, you're a great, forward, so you're scoring the goals up front. I'm a great goalkeeper, and, and the goalkeeper's out. What I've had to go from midfield and have to drop back to, play a bit of both, midfield and goalkeeper, let's say. And that's what happened in this business. Live on the field, we had to plug the holes and make a change to fundamentally what, I should have been up front, but I had to play back, whatever it was. When we got to the 6-month review, one of the things that came out was like, oh, well, actually, you haven't been doing the job that I've hired you on paper to do. And I go, well, let's have a look at this. And I went through, hey, so I just want to be clear, like these projects and tasks that I worked on, we agreed that they would be done at the time, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So like you assigned me those projects and tasks. Yep. And so that was agreed. I'm like, okay, cool. So now at 6 months you're going, I didn't do what we wrote on a piece of paper. And I was like, that's getting graded against what you didn't have an idea of at the first point. And then now saying, well, I really wanted you to do these things. And because, look, I know that we get to fill another position, but I still expected you to fulfill it was like, no, we made a live fire decision. Like, forget the role title, forget the scope, like the roles and responsibilities. Is like, did I deliver on time, on budget, to specification, what we agreed to when we were on the pitch? And it was like, yes. Okay, great. Then we have, let's keep going forward with like that sort of playing it live as we play, versus, so that was one case of, I ended up getting out of that conversation, by the way, it worked very well. We came to an agreement, and, there was a bonus in there around that as well. So that was a good agreement. And, we kind of came to a positive outcome around that. It's like, hey, let's just keep playing the pitch as it is. Don't necessarily need to play it by the paper all the time. But that was one thing where it was like kind of successfully managed up in some ways to a level. And then shortly after that, 6 months after, sort of moved on.
It's really, it's really interesting. I don't know. I don't think I have anything to add to that.
No, I think that's
like. I mean, I'm just thinking about how like it's good in that situation that you did what the client wanted, basically, or the employer wanted, and things like talking about the mountain analogy. I'm just thinking about now, like in my work, something like category entry points, which is the circumstances that happen when someone goes into a buying situation, and me, a lot of my branding work, I will go, hey, and let's work out a category entry point that your business is going to own. I know how important that is scientifically. I know how effective that is for a business from a brand building perspective.
So for those playing at home, category entry point is where a customer will come into your, make those buying decisions around their first purchase for your product.
It doesn't have to be the first purchase. Okay. It just has to be a purchase. So the circumstances that occur in their world where they're move into a buying situation.
So an example could be...
Or they might cut their leg and they're now in the business of, they're in the market for a Band-Aid.
Yeah, gotcha.
But the category entry point is they cut their leg.
Yes.
Well, obviously, there's a whole heap of ways you can ascertain that. It can be multiple factors that factor in that create a category entry point. It's really cool for a business to own one and to go after one. But I can't make other people value that.
Yes, you got to manage those. It's like...
Despite how convinced I am of the evidence.
So I guess working around that is like managing those expectations of, well, I don't need a category entry point. It's like our product just solves problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I can sell, what they want. Or I can find people who appreciate what I want to sell. I think that's kind of my option.
I think that's the thing. Like I worked on a project where I was looking for a particular specialist. The client that I was liaising with for this specialist was, so they were like, hey, we need someone to do like UI, UX. Who do you know? And I reached out to my network. This was around Christmas time too. So like, this person was away or traveling or overseas. So they didn't have time. They couldn't do a meeting in person. The client was like, no, we need to have a Zoom call. And I was like, okay, so what questions do you have for the designer? Like, you've seen their portfolio, they've worked on these brands, big acclaimed brands, solving the problems that we were trying to solve. had done the work before. And it's just a vibe check. Okay, expectations, like this person's overseas right now. The project's not going to, like, and we're wrapping into December. The project's not going to start to, like, let's say end of this January. By the time we scope, agreements, back and forth, etc., discovery. Does a call need to happen now? Yeah, it needs to happen, absolutely, yeah. And then email, like, client emails over, we need to get a meeting in, and like, they're not being responsive, Ben. Like, don't worry about it. And it was like, emailed back to the specialist saying, we can't make it work. Like, unless we can do a call. Obviously, you're not interested in the project or something like that.
They said that to them.
Well, over email, yeah. Said
wow.
like, unless we can do a call, it's not going to work out. This project's like needs to happen. Like, putting like a time pressure on it.
Yeah.
And I remember going to that client, and then the client was like, the person's just not going to work out. And I was just like, well, what did you need to ask? I was like, I just want a vibe check. And I just around managing expectations, like they're in South America, we're in Australia. Completely different time zones. They're on holiday. The project's not going to kick off, and you just want a 15-minute vibe check, like, because I was trying to ascertain, like, okay, let's write the questions down, send it in an email, and do it asynchronously. Like, what do you want to know? Like, maybe they can record a video. I don't know. What I respected about that and the managing expectation piece is that specialist just said, sounds like I'm not a fit for your project.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the thing that holds the project up.
Yeah.
Wishing you all the best. And I thought that was a graceful way to exit.
Going hiking in Peru.
Yes. And speaking of exiting, I think that pretty much wraps up our episode.
Yeah. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Ben Reeves, REEVES, or my website, BENREEVES.co. Ben Reeves.co.
Yes, the .co's all the rave these days. I've got the .co as well.
I think I had the .co before you.
You probably did. Yeah.
I had the .co. And
You're a trendsetter, mate.
Well, the truth be told is just the .com was taken.
Well, that's my excuse. All right, man. Thank you.
All right, peace.